Kim, what is our third main topic today?
All right, this comes from Kyle Robinson. Hey, John, love the show and thanks for all you do. I read a report that Ridley Scott's The Last Duel performed opening weekend at $27 million on a $100 million budget.
That is very incorrect, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Not a strong start for what looks to be a quality film. However, he made recent comments that millennials and cell phones are the reason his film didn't do well. Why? I ignored his comments on comic book movies recently because, as you say, all film is subjective, but this seems to be a baseless argument. Any validity to this? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Ridley Scott.
Oh, Grandpa Ridley.
What are you doing, Ridley?
Grandpa, go sit down.
Somebody get Ridley his pudding and put him to bed. Listen, Ridley, you are, without a doubt, one of the finest filmmakers ever to engage the art. You have made film that has withstood the test of time, that has stood as classics, and you keep doing it. Even when it looks like you were down after doing a bunch of crappy films like in the early 2000s, you came back out swinging with a movie like The Martian, which was so freaking good.
Best movie.
I mean,
freaking good.
You're Ridley Scott, strength and honor, dude. You're the gladiator man. But Grandpa Ridley has been saying some really weird things lately. That not only do I think is really out of character for him,
Yeah.
I just think is very odd. And, obviously he was just recently talking about comic book movies. And again, I have an opinion about filmmakers trashing the work of other filmmakers. I just think that's classless. I don't think that's your place to do. I think it's your place to make good film. And if you don't like comic book movies or any other kind of movie, you don't like 70s dance films. Okay. Let's just say they're not for you. Just say, those ones never really clicked with me. I'm more of a 90s dance film guy or whatever. Just say that and move on. Comic book movies come up, say, yeah, I know that. Listen, I'm super grateful that they're so popular and they bring in so much business to our movie theaters, but they just never resonated with me. I'm not the audience for that. Just say that instead of what he started doing. And he started going off on this. What's the word I'm looking for? He started going off on this profanity-laden speech about comic book movies are fucking boring. And that's okay. All right, Ridley, calm down, buddy. But he's Ridley Scott. He's great.
He's a freaking legend, man.
So he puts out this movie called The Last Duel, a movie I was really looking forward to a lot. And I went to go see it, and I like the film. I think it's a good movie. I do not like the choice, and I've said this several times. I don't like their choice of narrative structure to the movie because they tell the movie 3 different times.
Is it like Vantage Point a little bit?
Yes. There's a very much a Vantage Point part to this, where it's like they tell the story in the first act, and then they retell it again in the second act, but from a different character's perspective. Mm-hmm. And then they retell it again in the third act from another different character's perspective. And sometimes that structure really works with certain movies. I found that it didn't really work that well for The Last Duel. And to me, it felt like it just really slowed the movie down. A movie with an incredible story, very interesting characters, good action, good dialogue, good depth to the individual players at hand, and great performances. So overall, I quite like The Last Duel. I did. But the one thing, what was the name of the guy who wrote in the email? I can't remember. Who wrote in the message there?
That was our homeboy, Kyle Robinson.
Okay. So one thing Kyle points out is that it had $27 million opening on a $100 million budget. It, in fact, did not have a $27 million opening. It made $27 million total worldwide, period. The $27 million opening wouldn't have been too bad. It actually had a $4.5 million opening.
Ouch.
That's the opening it had. This movie, while a pretty good movie that I enjoy and I am happy to recommend to people, is an unmitigated flop. James Bond No Time to Die may not have lost $100 million. The Last Duel probably lost $100 million when it's all said and done. So, okay. Hey, listen, it wouldn't be the first time in the history of Hollywood that a really good movie didn't win an audience, didn't get an audience to check it out. That's happened. A lot of crappy movies make big money. A lot of really good movies don't attract an audience. All right, that's not Ridley's job. Ridley's job is to make the best movie possible. Give the studio the best product possible, and then it's up to the studio to sell it. That's no longer on you. That's up to the studio to sell. It's not the director's fault. But that's not how Ridley wants to play it. No. Ridley doesn't want to play it. Just like the villain of the week in an old Scooby-Doo cartoon, it's them dang kids that ruined it. I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those dang kids. That's what Ridley Scott had to say. This comes from the folks over at Variety. Write the following. I think what it boils down to, what we've got today are the audiences who were brought up on these fucking cell phones. The millennials do not ever want to be taught anything unless they are told on their phones. Scott continued. I'm sorry. Somebody wrote in the other day and called Ridley Scott a crazy old man. And I reprimanded the viewer. I said, come on. Let's not go there. Oh shit. Maybe we need to go there.
Oh, God.
Let's just keep going with this. The audiences who were brought up on these fucking cell phones, the millennials do not ever want to be taught anything unless it's told on the cell phone, Scott continued. This is a broad stroke, but I think we're dealing with it right now with Facebook. Facebook? How did Facebook become a part of this? Anyway,
Oh, God.
there is a misdirection that has happened where it's given the wrong kind of confidence to this latest generation, I think. So now it's Facebook's fault. It can't
No one's
be.
even on Meta, actually.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I mean, Facebook is still called Facebook, and then the bigger company is called Meta. Yes. So, okay. So
Hey.
it's not that, the subject matter today didn't really click with our audience. Coming out of the pandemic, a heavier period drama didn't seem to be on the menu for a lot of people. No. It's Facebook. It's the damn millennials and their cell phones. What? Please explain to me, Ridley, how did a cell phone keep somebody from going? They just don't want to learn anything. Oh, that's it. It's the audience's fault. It's the audience's fault. That's right. Your movie not doing well is the audience's fault. What did the audience do again? They're on their damn cell phones too much. Gotcha. Now look, I want to say all this as absolutely respectfully as I can, because I'm not just paying lip service when I say Ridley Scott is one of the great storytellers of this industry of all time.
100%
He
agree.
is.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to rush out to see the next. I'm going to go see House of Gucci tonight. And I'm going to go with bells on. I'm excited to see House of Gucci. I've been dying to see this movie ever since they first talked about it. Well, I wasn't as excited when they first announced it, but once I saw the trailer and I started seeing,
the trailers blew me away.
oh my God, I'm like, I am so in for this. I am so yeah, Ridley Scott is top. As somebody in Ridley Scott's era would say, he's aces. Ridley Scott is aces in my book. He's swell.
And the light, fantastic.
I got to do it again. What we've got today are the audiences who were brought up on these fucking cell phones. The millennials do not ever want to be taught anything unless you're told on a cell phone. What? And then we got Facebook. What? We're talking about Facebook? How did Facebook become a part of this conversation? It's the damn Twitties. The Twitties cost me tens of millions of dollars. Oh, the damn Twitties. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Look, as a director, as a filmmaker, all you can do is tell the best stories you can.
Yeah.
And you got to accept that people are going to love it, or maybe they won't. And you also have to accept that either one of those is okay. Then not everybody's going to love your work. And what you cannot do is take a position that says, no, my work's fucking awesome. If you didn't watch it, it's because there's something wrong with you. If you didn't like my film, that means there's something wrong with you. Listen, I do a daily show where every day 100, 200,000 people will check out videos that I do. And guess what? Not all of them love me. I know that's shocking.
No.
I know that's strange to think, but ain't all of them love me. And, you know, when I was working at both at AMC and Collider, whenever we'd bring staff in, one of the first conversations I would have with them is like, listen, you got to be prepared for this. There are going to be people who maybe like you too much, but there are also going to be people who you are not going to be for them, and you might see mean things said and blah, blah. It's part of it. If you're going to get online and say your opinion publicly, if your opinion doesn't line up with some audience member's opinion, they take that as a personal attack on them because they're very weak-minded. That particular individual is very weak-minded because they take it as a personal, if you don't agree with my point of view, you're attacking me, and they will turn back on you. And it's just part of the game. If you're Ridley Scott and you're a filmmaker in that position, you just got to understand, look, it's going to happen. What you cannot do, Ridley, is force yourself into obsolescence by alienating this audience that you need to see your movies. You are not helping your cause by spitting in the face of people who like comic book movies and other artists who make comic book movies by coming out and just proclaiming they're all fucking boring and useless. You're not winning over any audiences doing that. You don't have to lie and come out and say, yes, I love Captain Americas. You don't have to do that.
There's a way to say everything.
Yeah, just, but you're not helping your cause by just coming out and shitting all over the most popular genre of the day when you don't need to. You're not doing yourselves any favors when you put out one movie that you should be proud of and then blame the audience when your movie doesn't succeed. You just have to go, we made the best movie we could. Didn't work at the box office, didn't do the business we want to. Okay, we move on. I got House of Gucci coming out. Then he's doing that Napoleon Bonaparte movie with Joaquin Phoenix. And I can't remember the name of it, but he's got this Napoleon Bonaparte movie that he's doing with Joaquin Phoenix. Who's not excited about that? That's going to be awesome. But he's already turning people off. And I fear there are going to be some people that are going to go, Ridley Scott doesn't seem to have a very high opinion of me as an audience member. Why should I go and watch his next movie? I'm not saying that's going to be a huge problem, but it's something he's got to be cognizant of. Because the last couple of things he put out just sound like the ramblings of a crazy man. And he ain't a crazy man. He's a brilliant artist. I love Ridley Scott. It pains me to read this shit. I don't know. Kim, you read it. What was your kind of first impression? About the Twitties? It
sounds a bit in the curmudgeon area. However, I can understand a little bit of where he's coming from because he comes from a time where when you were curious about something, you went to the library.
The Encyclopedia Britannica,
you sure did, doggone it. And you watched, me and the kids were, we were curious about, like, I think we were talking about kangaroos. And it's funny, one of the kids went on their phone and said, Alexa, does a kangaroo something, something, something? And we had a whole conversation about, you guys don't even know. If I wanted to know that in 1996, I'd have to go to a library or I would go to National Geographic and I would sit through a whole episode and I would learn something. I understand a little bit what his frustration is. I actually really understand because if you think about it, everything's at our fingertips now. And our attention span is so much smaller than it was before. I mean, the boys are like, oh, Alexa, do this, Google, da-da-da-da. And they'll get frustrated if the circle spins for a little bit. And I'm like, do you guys even know what it's like to walk up and down the halls of a library and look for a book and then go through that book and then have your place markers and look for something? Our attention span is so much smaller. And I get his frustration. So I don't think he's totally crazy because he does come from a different time. He does come from a time where people appreciated film in a different way. And in the past, 20 years, technology has changed us socially so much. I can understand where he's coming from.
But I can't.
He sounds, I totally can. I don't believe there's any data to support
the 2.5-hour James Bond film would have flopped
because of this guy right here.
But people went to go see a 2.5-hour James Bond film. In this movie,
I would blame it on marketing.
He's got knights.
Now,
Marin brought up the marketing to him.
I didn't see it because I didn't realize it was out. I knew it was coming because I saw J-Lo and Ben Affleck on the red carpet. That's kind of the only way I knew. I blame it on marketing. Mr. Scott, I love your films. I love you. This didn't stop me from seeing the film. Not knowing when it came out stopped me from seeing the film. Not hearing enough about it, not seeing enough interviews with Matt and Ben, which is such a big deal. How are we not talking more about them doing a movie together and doing a period film? That's what stopped me. This didn't stop me.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Mark Maron, who was interviewing Ridley Scott, brought that up, said, well, maybe it wasn't marketed enough. Ridley Scott doesn't think that. He said, nope, they did a great job marketing this.
No, they did not.
I would suggest this. If people didn't know it was opening, it's because they weren't interested enough to pay attention to the marketing when it was right in front of them. I've had that happen to me. Like, because what's something I have Cowboy Bebop. I had very, very little interest in Cowboy Bebop. There's Cowboy Bebop marketing out there, but I couldn't tell you when it was opening because I wasn't interested. To be fair, I wasn't interested. And I could only agree with him saying, oh, this the millennials, the attention span, but they just went to go see $720 million worth of box office, went to go see James Bond. People are getting ready to go. Now, Spider-Man's different. It's one of those boring fucking comic book movies.
Yeah,
but that thing's going to be like 2.5 hours long, too. And people are going to go see that.
Yeah.
They have the attention span.
Day one.
If they're interested in what you're making. So I don't know.
Make it more interesting to me. This is the first time hearing of a Napoleon movie.
Oh, it looks so great.
From you. And right away, because I love history. Oh, I love history. Right away, I'm like, I'm there. I'm going to keep my eye on it. I'm going to look out for this. I'm going to look out for the trailer. I'm going to look out for a poster. So, I get what you're saying on one hand, but I also agree with him a little tiny bit. But you know what? He's at that age that I really want to get at where I'm older. I do not give a damn what you kids say. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to say whatever's on my mind. And it kind of seems like he's at the age where he doesn't care what it's going to do to his career either, because he's already had a wonderful, legendary career. So he's like, oh, I'm going to speak my mind. I don't care how crazy it sounds.
All right, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about Ridley Scott blaming Facebook and the Twitties and cell phones and millennials not wanting to learn anything for the failure of The Last Duel? A movie I like, by the way. But anyway, what's your guys' take on this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.